Welcome to Real Deal. I'm Jazelle, and unfortunately, I am here another week without my beloved pal Tara. We are separated by schedule again, unfortunately, but we will be back on track and together this upcoming week. I, as you know, recorded a previous episode, I think like a couple previous episodes with my partner Red, and he's here again. I thought it would just be fun to have someone to riff with.
What's up?
So we will be talking about bad government today. Bad government entities, bad politicians, people who have an issue with bad government, people that are trying to fight against bad governments, and everything in between. Government processes. So we should just get started.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies about bad government and a lot of media about bad government. I wonder why.
It's definitely not because we have bad government systems all across the world. Definitely not that. I do have to say, 3 out of my 4 picks are documentaries, which I think is kind of interesting of me because there are really actually some great documentaries about either political figures, like political systems, or people just highlighting political movements in documentary form. Obviously, there's great like actual fictionalizations and stories that surround these topics, but I think too it's cool to, or I think it's interesting and important to have media that reflects reality, especially in our country, whether it's a biased opinion or not. I think that those pieces of media are important to watch. So that being said, my first pick is The Lorax, the animated film, and I love The Lorax. I think that like this was a movie that was, I can't even remember what year it came out, but it just is like perpetually stuck in my head. I think I tell Tara
2012.
2012. Oh my god. Okay, this is like I used to love saying I speak for the trees. And then let it die, let it die, let it shrivel up and die. Tara knows I do be saying that. If you've listened to the pod, if you're a long-time listener, you know I do be saying that a lot. And that's from the Lorax. And I just love this movie. I think that it's like a perfect representation of what happens when capitalism goes too far and it creates its own like bad ecosystem of inequity and environmental destruction, and almost a fear in communities that things are everyone knows things are bad but does nothing about it just to save face for society. And I think that, sometimes I think we all do that just to like handle the cope of, it all. Like, honestly, I think a lot of times it is kind of almost like, well, what as an individual can I do? You know?
When resources are so deeply exploited, it's like, what is there to do? It feels that way.
It does feel that way. And I think that that's like really the message of this movie, I think, is like really community and like standing up for what's right. And I think that building those communities in reality, not just in this movie, but like is like the real way to bridge that gap. And I think that this movie definitely like indoctrinated children into like moral good. Like
we need more Loraxes.
We need more Loraxes in the world. And like the Onceler like rotting away and not wanting to be a part of it, I feel like is what it can feel like sometimes. And yeah, we do not need the needs in our life.
No needs.
No needs. Okay, that's my first movie. Yours?
Okay, my first movie, it's a little bit of a different note. I chose A Few Good Men,
Mm-hmm.
Rob Reiner movie from the 90s.
Which you watched with my grandma.
I watched that movie with your grandma a couple months ago. It's a great movie. Um, A Few Good Men is basically about Tom Cruise as a military lawyer, and it's about these two Marines who are accused of killing another Marine on base, and Tom Cruise's character starts by trying to defend them, trying to get them a plea deal, but the more he investigates, the more he kind of uncovers this conspiracy that's connected to all these higher ranking officials and like Jack Nicholson's character, who's essentially the antagonist of the movie,
Yeah.
trying to keep everything under wraps. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a bigger conspiracy connected to this one small case that he's trying to cover.
Yeah, and trying to push him out.
Yeah, totally. And so I picked this film as my first film just because of the kind of military government system and the internal corruption that goes on there. I mean, we know that's real. People. I don't remember the exact case, but people have been killed on military bases, and there have been cover-ups about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what You Can't Handle the Truth is from.
You Can't Handle the Truth. Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
That is a classic.
Yeah, so that's what I picked for my first movie.
I like it. I like that movie. It's very intense. We were talking about too. That movie's like very. I feel like it's like almost one and the same as Top Gun, but it's just because it's Tom Cruise and it's like the same era and it's like the military, but different
90s
movies.
lighting.
Yeah. 90s lighting, soft lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. My second pick is Fahrenheit 11/9, directed by Michael Moore. If you're familiar with Michael Moore, you would know that he did a documentary called Fahrenheit 9/11 about the like Bush administration.
War on Terror era.
War on Terror era.
Not War on Terror.
Not War on Terror. We love terror. We hate terror. But yeah, this movie is about like the first term Trump era, just sort of like societal happenings and like really extreme right, alt-right type B, but also like extreme leftist politics, and Michael Moore sort of goes over everything in there. And while I don't particularly like completely 100% align myself with Michael Moore's politics, I think that this documentary does like a really great job of like covering everything and being in the mix of all of it, and like Michael Moore is such a good and interesting narrator that this movie is really compelling, and also covers things that are like residual like from the Bush and Obama era. And I think that that's really important to highlight too, because you know with each president there are things that carry over, and I appreciated the discussion about like the things that were wrong that affect people to this day. So that's a really good documentary that I recommend. Yeah.
Kind of brings in like older like impact of like 9/11 on like Trump's first presidency even.
And you know, this was like the era of like the Tiki Torch and the Squad and AOC and
Antifa.
Yeah.
When that first kind of became a word for more people.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was like a very era of like something's not right here, and I feel like it's almost it was like a really I hate to use the word, but unprecedented time. But it really was like it felt so like this has never happened before. And I think that it just really encapsulates a lot of what was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it hadn't happened before, right?
I don't know. I mean, like maybe to some degrees, I think that a lot of people felt like Like it kind of could have happened before, like Reagan era, you know. I know felt really crazy for a lot
Yeah.
of people when he like took a bunch of things away, and I don't know. You know, I wasn't alive in that era, so I can't really speak about the eras previous,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that there are things before, like LBJ becoming president and the war and things like that, where everything felt really extreme. So I don't know. Maybe to certain degrees we're just repeating a cycle.
Yeah. Hard to tell.
Yeah. Your next movie?
My next movie was Battle Royale. Have you seen this movie?
No. I've never seen Battle Royale.
Okay, Battle Royale.
I know the Fortnite, not the
Yeah, not
legend.
Fortnite, Battle Royale, Battle Pass. So Battle Royale's from 2000, directed by Kinji Fukasaku. I think that's how you say it. It's basically about a class of high school students who are ordered to fight to the death. For some, it's like a government depopulation program, and for some reason they decide the best way to depopulate is to make high schoolers fight to the death
Real.
in like groups of like 42, I think it is.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it really to
The
me
original Hunger Games.
true governmental inefficiency. You know, like if you
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it is the original Hunger Games basically. I mean,
Did you like the Hunger Games?
I liked the books. I read the books when they were coming out, and I actually liked the books, and I kind of liked the stuff.
I never got into teen dystopia personally. Like Hunger Games, and what was the other one that was like that?
I don't think I read the other one you're talking
Like
about.
Maze
Maximum Ride or
Runner,
something.
and
Yeah.
no, the one with Shailene Woodley too. Fuck, I can't think about it. But anyway, sorry, go on.
Basically, these students are they're all
Divergent.
divergent. Yeah,
That's what it was. Yeah.
yeah. They're all given a weapon. They're put on an island. They have these collars on their necks that will explode if they leave the island or take them off. So basically, they're just forced to kill their friends and classmates. To me, it's really just about kind of the power of a totalitarian government, what they could do if they, I mean, really wanted to. Obviously, this is the most
And weaponizing the youth,
extreme
right?
version of that. Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Like weaponizing the youth. It's interesting to see how different people like choose to play the game. Some of them, like, you know, kind of lose their humanity. They're a little more willing to kill instantly. Some people are kind of there just to defend themselves, because at the end of the whole period, if there isn't a winner, then everybody will die. So it's just interesting to see how different people would deal with this kind of oppressive government system.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I love this movie in middle school, so I haven't watched it since then, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Teen dystopia, true to its core. Teenage angst, true to its core.
Yeah.
You know, the cycle never breaks.
Truly.
My next movie is going to be Boy State. This was an Apple original movie, and it follows pretty much this group of young teenage boys who are selected to take part in this program to run for like a fake governor. So they all learn about the political process in doing so. They're put in like a summer camp type environment. This particular one takes place in Texas, and pretty much like it is documenting all of like the interactions between these boys, and then also kind of watching the process from like beginning to end of like the boys that kind of rise to the top, and like their personalities, and the ones that really like truly are the ones who want to run for this governor position, and the political platforms that they run on. And I think that this is an interesting movie. There is a girl state version of this that takes place in Mississippi, and these programs are real. They take place in a bunch of different states. The California one takes place in Sacramento. And yeah, so like I think it's really interesting. I think it's important for kids to learn political processes at a young age, but also it is kind of weird to watch kids like almost gamify the like process of it, but I feel like that's also like reality.
That's also how people
you know, like
actually
that is the way
do it.
that people actually do it. And then you know, there's like interesting lines from kids where they're like, I will win at by any cost necessary, like even if that means like bullshitting my way through this. And I feel like that is so real. It just, I feel like it's like really at a micro level of like our reality in government and like
Social engineering.
yes, social engineering. And I think it's just like a really interesting program. I don't know if it's for better or worse, but I do think it's important for kids to be involved in the political process. But I think that this is an interesting documentary about the personalities behind that process.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like the way the movie for Boy State is cut is completely different from the way Girl State is cut. Boy State is almost cut in like this horror movie type way, and Girl State is cut in like this very like girl power, like we can do it sort of vibe, which is just interesting.
Have you ever seen that show? I think it's just like a couple episodes from this random reality show where they hold on. Have you ever seen that show where they have they give a bunch of kids from like ages like 6 to 12 a house to basically manage a household by themselves, and they give all these boys a house, and the house by the end of the week is just like torn apart. There's like holes in the wall. They like draw on the walls like it's like literally like Lord of the Flies.
The hell?
And then
do they live alone?
Yeah, I mean they have like,
I feel like we've talked
they
about
must have
this
some kind of like supervision, but
yeah.
But then the girls have their own house, and they just like the way that they manage it is so different. They like move all into like one like communal sleeping room. They like take turns doing chores. Like that's just kind of what the difference between the boys' state and the girls' state description reminded me of.
Yeah, that's so bizarre. Those poor kids. Social experiment as shit. Jeez.
Okay, the third movie I chose was Born in East LA. It's directed by and stars Cheech Marin, Up in Smoke star.
Yeah.
And it's about, so it's a comedy, but I think it has some pretty valid criticism of immigration issues. It's about his name is Rudy. He's a Mexican American guy living in Los Angeles. He is mistakenly deported to Mexico, and then it's kind of about his journey trying to get back to the U.S. as a Mexican American, not as somebody who ever lived in Mexico. I don't even think he has like very strong Spanish skills. Like kind of just about the process of getting back to the U.S. without money, without identification. And like I said, it is a comedy, but I think it does bring up some interesting points about kind of like
immigration.
Yeah, immigration and dealing with like being he's accidentally undocumented. Like he is an American citizen, and now he has to deal with like the government systems of immigration that keep him stuck in Mexico, basically.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen this movie, I really recommend it. I saw this movie in a film class a long time ago, and I've
never even heard about this movie.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's from 1987.
That's cool. I don't think there are lots of movies about undocumented folk.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of them, but I'm sure there are that I'm just like ignorant to.
Yeah, we don't know about. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, this one's pretty comedic in its take. I'm sure there's a lot more that are like more realistic and like kind of grim about the realities of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still like thought like it's basically like the border system keeping him like fucking him over basically.
Yeah. There was a movie, thinking about it now, I had to retake Spanish in high school, and during a summer program, there's a movie that we watched about immigration, but it was a documentary. I wish I could remember the name of it now.
Was it Migration?
No, it wasn't Migration. But I wish I could remember that movie. It was interesting. My next pick is going to be The Life and Times of Harvey Milk. And I watched this movie recently, also with my grandma. Um, Living in the Bay Area, I feel like, Harvey Milk is such a prominent figure. You go anywhere and there's something named after him. Um, as like a queer identifying person, I also like am familiar with his really pro LGBTQ stance and a lot of liberation he did for the queer community, especially in the Bay Area, and visibility for queer people. But I didn't really know his story. Learning about how he pretty much just like had this camera shop in the city with his partner, and he was kind of just like a go-to person and like always made himself available to people and helped other people, and was just like a really positive figure in the community, so much so that people wanted him to uplift his own voice, and like he's just like a natural leader and naturally stood for the rights of other people and all people, and wanted to make, he didn't want to be like, oh, I just stand for, queer rights or whatever. Like, I think one of the first things he enacted was like picking up your dog's poop at the park or
Yeah.
something, and like having poop bags accessible, something like that. And so it was things that like benefited the community as a whole, and how so many people in the community became attached to him, and how kind he was, and his relation to George Moscone, the mayor, and how I picked this movie just because he was such an amazing figure, and he was tragically murdered by someone who was running against him, Dan White, who eventually got off of murder for killing George
Horrible.
Moscone and Harvey Milk in like the daytime in the middle of City Hall. And he got away with it, and how terrible it is, and how he positioned himself as a man who was stricken with grief because he had lost the election against Harvey Milk, and how he was like, he positioned himself as like a family man who was under a lot of stress, and the way that, the like emotional manipulation of juries and things like that, like it really, it it was just really awful. And I think obviously made a lot of people in the community upset, and was like a gross atrocity against like the horrific things that happened to Harvey Milk and George Moscone. And it's just like, it was so crazy. I was ignorant to all of this. Like, I had no clue that he was murdered. And you know what, I worked in an art museum where we had like a 3 painting series of Harvey Milk, and it was, I had seen him, like the painting was about how like his upcoming like rise to like be this great political figure, and then eventually his murder. But I'd seen that, and so I knew that he was murdered, but I didn't know about like the Dan White thing and all the complexities of it. And it's just crazy because it's like someone did this because of their own political beliefs that were misaligned, and that they were a fucking loser. Like,
Yeah.
it's really just so upsetting. And just to see the aftershock of how it affected the community, of like not just like the Dan White getting off, but also the death of Harvey Milk and George Moscone, and how much it was a devastation of the community.
Yeah, you really see in that movie like how much of a like be like a pillar of light Harvey Milk was. Like I wasn't aware of that. And
Yeah.
then like you hear people in that talking about how helpful he was, not even just about like any kind like a political issue or something that would have to do with government, but he would just like help his neighbors, and he was
Yeah.
just like always positive and like there for people. And
Yeah. I think like the crazy thing about that movie that made me extremely emotional was the night that he died was like the city, and not just the city, like people drove out from outside of the city, and I can't remember if they're all walking down Market Street, but it's like a vigil that they held for Harvey Milk and George Moscone, and it's like all of Market Street or something. Like it's just thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands truly of people grieving somebody that was so like such a pillar to the community and to like the region and to California and America. And it that movie is like that's such a well-made documentary, and it like makes me emotional thinking about it. Yeah. Your last movie?
okay, so my last movie's kind of different from that,
Okay.
but I chose The Purge, specifically The Purge election year.
Oh god.
Um,
I've never watched any of these.
so I always heavily judged the Purge series before I saw them, and I still judge them even
Yeah.
after having seen them. Um, you know what the Purge is basically about? It's the idea that the government legalizes it, like, and you can just do
Crime for
whatever the
like
hell you
what,
want for like a
24
day.
hours? Yeah.
Yeah, as if that's like some kind that would like help. You know,
Yeah.
like as if the rest of the year things will be cool.
Right.
Um, you know,
That is like truly hellish. Whoever thought about this like concept is like a genius, to be honest. That's a really crazy thought. Why did you pick this movie?
so okay, the Purge, specifically the Purge election year, I like because uh, it's it's okay. So yeah, we know what the Purge is about. The Purge has
Yeah.
been going on for a while. The Purge election year is about this one character who I think her what who's she played by? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, she basically like okay, how do I explain this?
Uh-huh.
Okay, there's a senator who wants to end the purge nights.
Okay.
That's their campaign promise.
Yeah.
And it's basically about that whole concept. Like like the party for so long has been running on like pro purge.
Pro purge.
And then suddenly it's like this person's like, we're getting rid of the purge. Like we're not
Yeah.
going to do the purge anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know, kind of I guess it's a little similar to the reasons I like Battle Royale is it's got this like kind of sense of like government, like it is totalitarian in a way where it's like okay, it's almost the opposite of Battle Royale, where Battle Royale is like, yeah, you guys are gonna go kill each other. This is like the hands off, like do
whatever
whatever
happens,
you want.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and that idea is just so insane to think about. Like, why? Like, that can't be good for the government either. Like, I really don't think that the purge would work out for anybody. Like, and how do
No.
you like maintain your institutions? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, so hypothetically on a purge, could I just like go into the street and like jackhammer the roads and stuff? Like, I mean, I don't think that, or like commit like fraud or like
burn down like governmental buildings. I don't know.
Like, I mean, can you do like anything? Like,
I don't know. I don't know how the rules of the purge.
yeah. So, because like,
Can you like kill the president? Like,
I think there's no rules. So I think like, as if you could, I think you could.
that's crazy.
Also, the reason I chose the Purge election year is it has one of the best characters. It has the best character in the whole series. It's this guy named Skeletor. Who's this? I guess he's a villain. He's this strange dude with like scarification all over his face, and he has syringe fingers as
That's
like
kinda
kind of like a
crazy.
Freddy Krueger.
Do you have
like
a picture?
yeah, he uses like a
Oh my god.
like syringe.
He does
Wolverine
have like
hand.
a syringe knuckle.
Yeah.
That's intense. What does he inject people with? We don't know. We don't know. He just injects people.
He's just an injector,
He's an injector.
I honestly don't think he gets
Live,
a chance
laugh,
to
love.
use it, from what I remember.
That's unfortunate.
But spoilers. But
anyways, we love The Purge.
We love The Purge. If The Purge was real,
I do have to say, I mean, I've never watched The Purge, but some of those masks kind of cool. Some of those masks kind of interesting.
Definitely contributed to the Spirit Halloween canon of regular non-rotating masks.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, live, laugh, love, bad governments.
I have a couple.
You have honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions.
Go ahead. What are your honorable mentions?
Honorable mention: Doctor Strangelove. Have you seen this movie? This is
never seen it. It's iconic though. I know that it is. I've just never watched it.
It's just hilarious. Basically, Cold War inefficiency.
Yeah.
Kind of about the power that one person in government could have to kind of destroy the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave it at that.
Your second honorable mention?
My second honorable mention is the parallax view. I didn't mention this one in at the first place because it's a little similar to A Few Good Men, but also very good. It's more 70s. It's kind of, you know, that like mid 70s conspiracy thriller where it was kind of like, I don't know. It's got some kind of like Watergate vibe or something. Watergate vibe.
Yeah.
But it's basically about a guy who sees the assassination of a senator, and then this secret organization called the Parallax Corporation, which kind of manipulates people to carry out assassinations.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just about the kind of web of lies that grows from there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great one.
Yeah. My honorable mention will be Malcolm X. That movie is crazy. What happened to Malcolm X is crazy. If you don't know, look it up. A great man who was definitely killed by our government. And that's fucking insane. We respect Malcolm X. We love Malcolm X in this household. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Any closing thoughts? No?
Government bad?
Government bad? Anyways, we hope you have a great day. Let's work towards making
maybe government
good. Shit, I don't know. Anyways, have a great night and thank you so much for listening.